Is it Friday? Oh, wait. No, it's not. Trade week has begun. Trade day happened on Wednesday, not Friday, because here's the first trade. Anthony Mantha heading to Vegas, 50% retained by Washington for a second and a fourth. Anthony Mantha, who's like 6'5", who, no, he's not that 50-goal scorer he was in junior hockey. But he has 20 already this year, and he just fits. He just fits so well with Vegas. And they weren't done. They weren't done. We'll get to that later on. But my gosh, to start trade day, preliminary trade day, trade deadline, Vegas goes out and get Anthony Mantha. Phenomenal move by them. Yeah. Gosh, in Washington, they recruit some assets, as in draft picks, because they need them. So that's good. And then they take additional money, and they sign Rasmus Sandin, who's turning 24, probably when this video goes up. It's technically tomorrow. And they sign him to a 5-year deal, $4.6 million, so a hefty raise for him, but they have the cap space to do it, and he's looked good. So they sell Anthony Mantha. He goes to Vegas, who are gearing up for another cup run, cap circumvention. And then Washington also signed Sandin, which I like. So great move by Vegas, and I think a great move by Washington. Overall, good trade for both. And we move on. The Ottawa Senators, the team that was going to make the Stanley Cup playoffs this year, are in sell mode because Vladimir Tarasenko goes and shores up the wings of the Florida Panthers. So, maybe take a little bit of weight off those top guys for a team that is already stacked. He goes to Florida. So, Vladimir Tarasenko to the Florida Panthers from Ottawa. And Ottawa gets a 2025 third, a 2024 fourth. That's conditional, and they retain 50% of his salary. For Ottawa, doesn't look good. For Florida, looks very good. Yep, I'm a Leafs fan. And I will say, wow, Florida, you're already kind of a juggernaut, and now you're just adding. But as you can see, or you will see in this video, there's a couple teams doing that. Good move by Florida. Ottawa, that's all you can get for them. Rough season. Is what it is. Plus, they were kind of handcuffed because Tarasenko had, I think, a no-trade list or whatever, so he got to choose where he went. He went to Florida. And Ottawa got a third and a conditional fourth and retained 50% of the salary. Was it good for Ottawa? No. Was it good for Florida? Yeah. And speaking of teams who are gearing up, Colorado Avalanche. They're ready. They're wanting it. They saw the Mantha move. They saw Florida making some moves. They're like, let's make some moves as well. I actually have no idea what the time frame is, but Colorado Avalanche get one of the players that I think the Leafs were definitely looking at in Sean Walker, and a conditional 2026 fifth, I believe. So from Philly selling Walker, it was bound to happen. They needed to get rid of him or Sealer. They got rid of him. More on Sealer later on, in a second actually. So Colorado, they grab Walker, they get that conditional, and then going the other way, a 2025 conditional first round pick. It's conditional because it's top 10 protected, so if next year something bad happens for Colorado, they can push to 2026. And Ryan Johansson is off the other way. So remember, they had him for about $4 million because I think Nashville retained 50% in their little trade at the beginning of the year, and he has not worked out at all. So Colorado's like, we're moving on from you, Johansson. And for a brief time, Johansson was on Philly before Philly said, yeah, you're going on waivers. We're not dealing with this. And then Walker, you looked at the lineup and you're like, Makar and Tays and Manson and Girard and Walker and Bowen Byram. Not so fast. Not so fast, because then right after that, not long after, Bowen Byram, in a 1-for-1 trade, heads to Buffalo. So now he gets to be the third best left-handed defenseman again. But in Buffalo this time, with younger guys. And and he goes for Casey Middlestat. Middlestat, top Buffalo Sabres point getter. Is that a really big thing? Not really, because their best players haven't been their best players, but is he better than Johansson? Yes. Bowen Byram, his underlying numbers aren't that great this year. In the playoffs, he was great. So Buffalo's like, yeah, all right, we'll take him. We'll develop him. He gets to work with Dahlin and Power, and then we're going to have Byram. That's phenomenal. And I'm like, I agree, Buffalo. And then Colorado gets Casey Middlestat, who can play center. He can play wing. He can basically do it all. A couple years ago, it was like the downfall of Casey Middlestat. Then he started to bring it back up, and Colorado sees that, and they grab him, and it's a nice trade. It's a nice trade. A 1-for-1, which is shocking. But again, remember Bowen Byram. He's had his injuries in the past, concussion issues. He could have done the Nolan Patrick thing and not return, and no one would have blinked an eye. It would have been like, yeah, your health is first. He's been healthy. He's been playing. Not the best, but I think in Buffalo it's going to be really good. And they don't have their window right now, as in they can develop him. And you know what? He's going to be a stud. Like, I watched Buffalo play Toronto tonight. It was a lackluster game, yes. But Dahlin looked phenomenal. He played basically the whole game. And Power looked phenomenal, and he basically played the whole game. Defensively, Buffalo's looking good. And Bowen Byram just adds to that. Casey Middlestat goes to Colorado. So Colorado just swaps Byram for Walker. So they got another right-handed defenseman. Makar, Manson, Walker. That's looking like a great right side. And then they get Middlestat to replace Johansson, and that's definitely a massive upgrade there. Great move. Great moves by Colorado in the trade from Philly, in the trade for Buffalo, and I think it was a great move by Buffalo, and I think it was a great move by Philly. Overall, this is a win-win-win for all teams involved in these two trades. I like them. And then the Oilers are like, we've got this window with McDavid and Draisaitl in their prime. I think we should probably just trade our picks. Ken Holland maybe has seen the light. And they make a great move. Like, their top line with McDavid and Draisaitl and Hyman, yeah, you're not touching that. Canes look good with Nugent Hopkins, who's been phenomenal, and Janmark, I think, is on the wing there. But you're like, oh, they could use an additional centerman maybe. And they go and get Adam Henrique, which was a great move. Great move. I'm not sure if there was salary retention. I'm assuming there is. They get him, Sankarek, like a conditional 7th or maybe a 7th round pick in there from Anaheim, and they give up their first, and I think it's a conditional 4th or 5th. I don't know. I'll put the graphic up somewhere. But the big thing is Anaheim gets that first. Edmonton shores up their depth down the middle, and it just gives they like, I'm sure Sam Carrick, it's probably an upgrade on Connor Brown, who only has five assists this year. But we damn well know that Henrique is. You get to throw him in there. I think it's going to be phenomenal for Edmonton. Are they done? I don't think so. But this is definitely a good start. Great trade for Edmonton and for Anaheim. Henrique was going to be gone, and you got a first. Well played. Again, for this, both. Like the trade for both teams, especially for their situations. And then speaking of another team who must have seen what Florida was doing and go, hey, we're top of the conference as well. We should make a deal. So the New York Rangers get Alex Wemberg from Seattle. And in doing so, they trade a second, a fourth. I think it was a 2024 second, a 2025 fourth. And Seattle retains 50%. So you pay more for that salary retention, and it just gives them the depth. Gives New York the depth. And again, Seattle making moves. They need to make that move. I hope they make the move of moving someone like Adam Larson to the Toronto Maple Leafs. That'd be pretty cool. But this move makes sense for Seattle. They get some draft picks, and it makes a lot of sense, a whole lot of sense for New York, because you need that depth down your lineup. So again, for this, I like this trade too for both teams. I'm going to call this a win-win. So far, I think the only loser is Ottawa. And then, of course, another Leafs potential pickup, Zach Bogosian. He could have returned to Toronto again, but no, signs a 2-year extension with Minnesota, and good for him. Good for him. Actually, really good for him. It's a decent deal. I don't know what Bill Guerin's doing, but 2 years, Zach Bogosian. I forgot to mention, Philadelphia, after they traded Sean Walker, they also signed Sealer to a 4-year extension, 2.7 AAV, and he's just had a great season. And you know what? I know a lot of people are like 4-year teams, like save some money, but I'm just like, you know what, players, if you get a chance to make some money and they give you this contract, you take it. You take it and you run. I would do it. So this is great for him, and it's good for Philadelphia as well. They're still in the playoff hunt, and yeah, good move. 4 years, 2.7 million. Great raise. Great raise. You just got, it's like a feel-good story, a feel-good moment for him, and it's going to be 4 more years of feel-good moments at $2.7 million per year. So Philadelphia signed Sealer for a 4-year extension. And then the last one. So Colorado makes their moves. They get their depth up front. They get their depth on D. And then you have the reigning Stanley Cup champions, Vegas Golden Knights, go, well, we got Anthony Mantha. Why don't we get a defenseman? And let's one-up you. Maybe one-up you? Probably. They get Noah Hannafin. I don't know what it is. I saw that was before watching the Leafs game. Elliot Friedman, live on air, just says, Hannafin's going to Vegas. And then that's basically all I've heard. Especially like up until making of this video. That's all I've got. Hannafin's gone to Vegas. I have no idea what for. What's that? Cap circumvention? Nope, just using the cap properly. You know, Stone's going to come back and they're going to be at like $400 million. And God, this team, I love it. I love the move. I love the move for them. Good for them. Gosh, Colorado and Vegas going at it. Edmonton's getting better as well, because you know Edmonton are going to play Vegas in the playoffs, most definitely, likely the first round, and it's going to be chaos. So why don't we add another D who's used to playing against Edmonton, and Connor McDavid and Noah Hannafin. One positive is that, you know, there was rumors that Hannafin was going to go to Tampa Bay, so that's good. Put him out into the West, and God, that's going to be some fun playoff hockey. There's going to be some late nights watching those games, but gosh, is it going to be worth it. Wow. So, yeah, trade deadline day. Trade deadline has already started. What do you think of all these trades, all these moves? Who's to go next? Are these teams done? What are my Leafs going to do? I'm banging the desk. I'm making the camera move. God, I'm excited. The Leafs won tonight in a terrible game. We get to play Boston tomorrow. We need a right-handed defenseman. I say we, because I feel like I'm part of the team. Comment down below your thoughts on the moves. I love majority of them. Like I said, the Ottawa one is just a little bit lackluster for them. But screw it, it's Ottawa. Anyway, take care, everyone. Have a wonderful week. Have a good night. Friday, trade deadline day. Let's do it. All right. See you later on. Go Leafs, go.